many seas, how many lives, until the cat comes home. How many gales,
Yeah. But before you touch on doing it here, what kind of thoughts and feelings can you bring to a character like Captain Cat from your perspective? Because his role in Under Milkwood is fascinating. I mean, he very much, there's a first voice in Under Milkwood, there's a second voice in Under Milkwood, and Captain Cat is very much the third voice. But in being the third voice, he's the third voice who can't see.
That's right. And I think that's really important, because he almost justifies the existence of the sound poem in the first place by the fact that he experiences it orally. So the fact that we're then being transported there in the original idea anyway, without seeing any of these actors, he's an absolute key to unlock the piece. But I also think more than that, I think if you take the idea, most people who lose their sight will tell you it isn't what most people who don't know anything about losing your sight think it's like. And most people will think, oh, it must be a terrible tragedy and it must be terribly bad. And don't get me wrong, when I found out it happened to me, I did not jump for joy and go, oh, yippee. But what it's done is taught me to see things differently in my head as well as through my eyes. And that's been a liberation. In a way, it's been the best thing that ever happened to me. And seeing the world differently is, if you like, metaphysical as well as real. And I think I wanted to, so that was one thought I brought to Cat. How does that affect his whole life journey? And the other thing is, how can we maintain the really sparse and sometimes stereotypical boundaries that Dylan stuck on the characters, and then make them really interesting, different, real characters who can still fulfill their destiny within the play?
I think that one of the things that I want everybody to know about this piece of work that Chris has done, wherever it goes now, is that I think he's done something really quite unique in that he has woven his own life experiences into those of the imagined Captain Cat. Now, obviously, all writers, use their own experiences, but there is something very different about this, because what Chris has created is an amalgamation of an imagined Captain Cat, the real Chris Talley-Evans, and of a person who spans from 1860-ish right up until 2023. Now, this is really fascinating and not something that I'm particularly aware of anyone doing. So we've actually got not just a very clever piece of work here, we've actually got a new literary form kind of emerging, which is why well, it's true, which is why the essential, we kind of then have to take this further. We can't just go, well, this is a new form, but we're going to do the old theatre, we're going to do the old radio. You can't do that. So consequently, it is a case of, right, let's get it all out, let's play with it. And
one of the things that's happened working in a new way is that we got very interested, because it's really current, I can't say the name, but in AI, chat, what is it?
GPT.
Thank you. And so what we did was, we'd taken the script and then we all envisaged our own unlimited budget version. What would it be? And we had massive films, and we went on real boats, and we had site-specific pieces. And then we fed this into the AI and asked it to write us some reviews of our show. And we now have 3 fantastically different and exciting reviews with absolutely specific stuff that gobsmack people of a show that only exists in our heads. I mean, we couldn't even have done that a year, and we've got generated images of the actors in it. So we've got rave reviews, we've got scathing reviews, we've got views from the community, we've got sight impaired views, and we've got images of all these amazing things, some of which are so surreal. Dylan would have loved them, The trousers with the flies done up don't hold a candle to them, I'll tell you. And it's only existed in Mrs. Thomas's parlour.
But it is interesting that Dylan chose to write Captain Cat in as a blind person.
Yeah.
It's fascinating because when he actually decided that, because 53 is when Under Milkwood came up, he was working on it for a long time before, but because Captain Cat only can see and interpret, as it were, the world around him by what he hears and his other senses. But when he looks back, and his story is full of memories, and he talks about the bright-eyed days when he could see, they're visions of what he could remember seeing in the past. So you identify with that as well.
Of course. I mean, you know, I spent the first 26 years of my life with 20/20 vision. You know, I had virtually perfect vision. I could have been a fighter pilot. You know, and then it starts to happen. My condition starts to manifest itself, and things get very, very gradually worse at first. And then I think it's going to be absolutely cataclysmic for a short time because they got the diagnosis wrong. And then that's not true. And then it gets worse for a bit. And then it stabilizes for years and years and years. So things change, but in very different ways. And but also, of course, one of the pivotal times was the day when I was just over 30, which was the first time after, you know, being brought up as an actor and loving English and books and poetry and drama, when I couldn't read standard text without magnification, right? And this is pre-internet, pre-so much. So that was not only my absolute pleasure and delight on the line, it was also my job, because I was going to make my living out of being an actor and a musician, and I had to sight read music and, you know, do voiceovers and all of this stuff. And suddenly these doors were slamming shut, because back in 1990, whatever it was, we certainly weren't as inclusive of disabled people in the arts as we are now, and frankly we're still not that inclusive of disabled people in the mainstream a lot of the time. So I thought, crikey, I am never going to work again. Is the drone pilot. So so is that as well. You know, don't assume that the way it's going to be, because it probably won't be.
Absolutely. So Richard, how has all this come together this week? So tell us a bit about the people who are going to be performing it for us.
Yes, yeah. So this week has been absolutely about just exploring in any way that that we've found our interest has been taken. So we've been working with three great actors and also content creators and all sorts of things. I think one of the things that is worth kind of remembering now is that artists working performance art has so many strings to their bows now. I mean, always did, but it used to be more in the lines of, well, you know, I can also ride a donkey. Whereas now, you know, it's you know, I can create online content or whatever. So we wanted to work with Ollie, who is Oliver Morgan
Thomas.
I'll
do the name.
You do the name. Who is
Yasmin Özdemir.
Who is Jake
Sawyers.
Lovely. And then we have Ellie Evans, that's fine, I can do that, Ellie Evans, who has been working with us as our movement director, but she's also acting, she is also an actor. And interestingly, Ellie is also a former member of the West Glamorgan Youth Theatre and now a tutor there, so we're kind of like bringing
also
it home.
three of us all went to the Welsh College of Music and Drama, but not concurrently, any of us.
Yeah. And then we also have been working with a great Swansea based art, collaborative art unit who are called Jason and Becky. More of them to come later on, but it has been about throwing people with a huge different ranges of experience and different areas of experience and seeing what we can make together. Were we setting out to develop the script? Well, no, not really. What you will see later on is text, is script, and it has changed. But actually what we wanted to do was to find the other opportunities within the script. So as Chris said, might be online, might be gaming, might be large-scale community work, might have nothing to do with theatre actually, because that's fine, because you can do that. And so my role has been to kind of like push people into exploring new areas and also to pick up on ideas that they've got.
Herding cats.
Herding cats, yeah. But then also to kind of bring it all together. So I'm a playwright, but I also work as a dramaturg, which is a weird term, but essentially it means you gather together loads of material and you shape it into a narrative, into a story, into some kind of form. So what we've got is a massive amount of material now, and we've still only scratched the surface, to be honest. So the next stage, because this is only it's stage 2. Stage 1 was Chris writing the text. This is stage 2. There will be many other stages. And the next stage, we don't know what that's going to be yet, but it'll be taking stuff that has happened here in the Dylan Thomas house and developing it in new areas. And I think it is also worth noting that work that's worth doing takes time. So it's not a case of, write a play and overnight. No, you have to go back. So we are hoping that this will actually see us out.
And the
To be
version.
honest, and then we will pass it on.
Yeah. But also, what you're going to see tonight isn't sometimes you go and see what's described as a rehearsed reading or rehearsed, and it's very slick and very, and you think, why didn't they put it on properly? Because they obviously knew that. This is still at a really early raw stage, and because of the stuff the guys have been doing, I have spent today doing more significant than I would have cared frantic little rewrites, which I've then thrown at them, or we changed bits and moved about, even the bits we're going to do for you tonight.
Yeah.
And so, so there may well be a stumble or a pause or whatever, and that's absolutely fine, because this isn't happening 3 months ago or last week, it's happening now, and you're almost in one of the sessions, really.
You are, I mean, that is the thing, you are in one of the sessions, really, and you will be coming across tonight work that was literally written this afternoon.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that you really whet our appetites. I can't wait to actually see the work that you've been talking about, which we will do after we have a short break, and you can buy some refreshments in the Thomas's living room up there. You can have a look around the house, and please come back because we will have the premiere.
Yeah.
Well,
Swansea, oh city, says I.
Join our fantastic presenter Ben Pomeroy Jones on a historic tour of Swansea's maritime quarter that didn't always look the way it does today. From industrial roots as one of the world's biggest ports, this copperopolis has more secrets than even Dylan Thomas's bedroom.
Tonight's episode features well-known local characters from the ugly lovely town, including none other than the infamous blind sea captain, Captain Cat, and his will they, won't they lover, Rosie Probert.
Come with us as we take a deep dive into his salty past. It isn't just lava-bread cockles and samphire you'll find in this sailor's sea fry.
Tonight, pretty gritty, fishy wishy, witty kitty, dirty ditty city. Milkwood TV, 8 p.m.
I love you, Rosie Probert, it's a tune on my belly and a mermaid to keep me afloat. Got a rooster on my right foot, a pig on my left, and the Lord's cross around my throat. Hold fast, wind, come fill the sail. 9 lives, till the cat comes home to wail. Till the cat comes home.
Everybody who's here in the parlour and everybody out there, whether you're in Canada or whatever other part of the world you're in, it's good to have you, and I'm really looking forward to this. It is the premiere of the first version of a brand new work that's been crafted and worked on in this very house throughout this week, as we've already heard from 2 other people. You might have noticed there's another 4 behind me now, and I'm not going to say any more. I'm going to pass it back to these 2 gentlemen. It's all in your hands and your hands.
right, in a minute I'm going to hand over to Richard, but a couple of things I want to say. One of the great things about this week has been working with people literally of a different generation who are young enough to be our kids.
And grandchildren.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, all right. And so I'm just going to introduce you properly to our actors, and then I'll hand over to Richard, and we'll get into doing about things about the work. So we've got Yasmin Azdemir, Oliver Morgan Thomas, Jake Sayers, and Ellie Evans.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you, Chris. So what we're going to present for you now is it's a collection of text, and there will be some interventions from Chris and myself. We will be giving you a story. You will follow a story, but you will not follow a story necessarily completely through text. We'll kind of talk you through things. What we wanted to do was to give you flavour of the characters, but also and the story, but also a flavour of the particular way that Chris has woven his own life into Captain Cat's imagined life. So, wonderful four actors will be playing a range of parts, so it's up to you to keep up with that. But yeah, I think we're fully off, aren't we? So,
there's a quick one. There is some sort of gender blind casting, partly from necessity and partly because we think that's really cool. And in one scene, which is an extremely violent and abusive scene, there is a little bit of strong language, so I'll just warn you. But it doesn't go all the way through, so.
No, just a bit. It's all justified. Okay, thank you everyone. And so to begin at page 1, prologue. Acoustic. Sound of the sea on the shore.
Alfred Pomeroy Jones. Who the hell from Mumbles was ever called Pomeroy?
I mean, Dancing Williams, Jonah Jarvis, they're obviously made up names.
If you ask me, the only sea was the sea of booze he throws down his neck.
Rosie was real enough, though.
Acoustic. Ebenezer's bell.
Even if she was, they never went anywhere.
Never did anything.
It's all a load of bollocks.
Acoustic. Ebenezer's bell. Acoustic. Interior.
Oh, look out, we woke him up.
Voyage 1. Old Captain Cat wakes. Senses the audience.
Rosie. Yes, my friends. My good, my dear, my new and old friends. Maybe a few enemies. A few acquaintances. The curious, the prurient, the undecided. Well-wishers and ill-wishers. Christians and witches. Sailors and lovers all. Well, you shall all have the name friends, at least for the time we spend together. And after that, well, who knows? As the man once said, to begin at the beginning. Well, it's not really the beginning, is it? We've already had a bit of a chat, broken the bread, picked the ice, chewed the codfish, tickled the tabby cat's tummy. So instead, where to begin? Oh, look, let's just get on with it. Rosie. Rosie. I first saw Rosie outside the Queen's Hotel by Swansea Docks.
Acoustic. Exterior. Swansea Docks.
I saw her clear. Clear as a rock pool, clever as a crab, confident as a cormorant. She disrupted the daylight, dazzling the dusk away like liquid refracting rose gold. But her voice, her voice was the sound of the sea. Welsh. Welsh as a herring gull fighting for fish on a frozen Friday.
What the hell do you think you were looking at, Cookie Boy?
Only my future wife. She flashed me a smile. Teeth white as a gannet strike against a sun-washed sea.
In your dreams, piss fart.
And she slipped away, vanishing down a side street. I chased her, of course, but not one trace remained. Lost to everything, gone from everywhere. Except my sweaty dreams.
1896.
Swansea.
Acoustic. Sounds of industry.
Swansea.
An industrial hell.
A seaport.
Clinging to the coast of South Wales.
Clinging to its precarious title,
Copperopolis.
The powerhouse that supplied the world.
with copper.
Iron.
Coal.
It's fair to say all this progress, all this enlightenment, had left the place in a bit of a state.
Oh, the stank.
The slag heap fires burnt incessantly.
And the streets ran with shit.
Squeezed between the hills and the sea, as if all the goodness and purity was being wrung out by Satan's mangle. Our house fought against the squalor like an oil-slicked albatross, preening and preening, almost making ocean water, then failing and falling, sliding back into a slimy sea of dirt and decay.
Right, Chris, so you've introduced us here to the context of Cat's world. This Swansea that is a lot more ugly than lovely. So Cat's a 14-year-old boy at this point, I think that's right, isn't it?
Yeah.
So do you want to tell us a bit about Cat's place in this Swansea?
Cat lives with a mam who's a bit hoity-toity in a bigger than many house in Sandfields. That house is based on my Uncle Ernie. His mam's got things. He's at the grammar school. His mam makes him wear lace around his breeches, and he says it's not because of my mum avers it'll make you a gentleman, but it does teach you how to fight. That was real for my Uncle Ernie. His dad is a sea captain from North Wales. My great grandfather was a sea captain from North Wales, and the claim of his life in that one day he is tragically lost at sea. What actually happened was his ship was moored in Liverpool dock. He went off, got absolutely smashed, which he did all the time, fell off the gangplank, died 3 feet from the ship, 4 feet from the quay. So tragically lost at sea, was all the family ever said. So, so that's Cat's place. He's got younger brothers and sisters, and his father is also absent because he's away at sea, but absent when he's at home because he's always off singing comic songs and telling jokes and drinking all the money, which is my other grandfather. So both my grandfathers and great grandfathers were quite fond of a drink, but the one I think stayed at home, and the other one just kept on doing that. But that's Cat's world.
Lovely. So this is little Cat when he's a kitten.
Yeah.
So what about Rosie? Tell us a bit about your vision of Rosie.
Well, I think my vision of Rosie is. I think Thomas's vision of Rosie is, quite one-dimensional. You know, she's just this sort of rather, free with her favours person. I thought she was probably far more complicated. I thought she was probably far more diverse. I thought she was probably forced into this life by perhaps being of mixed cultural heritage. Perhaps, but I certainly thought if Cat is so amazed by her, there has to be more to her. So she's got to have something. It may not be educated, but something really feisty and lovely and clever and something that really grabs him, because otherwise, why is it this whole lifetime thing?
So Cat's dad dies, and Cat decides that he needs to contribute to the family finances, and he decides to follow his dad's footsteps and go to sea. Sort of easier said than done, but eventually he finds a sea captain, Captain Morgan of the
Captain Eden
of the Morgan, which is a whaling ship.
A real whaling
Yeah.
ship. It still exists.
The thing is that coincidentally, Captain, what's his name again? Eden. He's actually looking for a cat down Swansea docks, and then Cat turns up. However, the reality is that he's looking for a replacement for his real ship's cat that has recently died. So he agrees to take Cat on as a cabin boy if Cat will find him a real cat. This is what Cat goes off to do. But of course, what everybody wants to know is what's Rosie up to, and we're going to find out. Voyage 2.
The second time I saw Rosie, she was holding a cat. Not the moth-eaten tabby with half a year that I chased all the way from the docks, but a big, sleek kitten with fur as black as midnight and eyes as green as the deep, dark ocean.
All right, cocky boy. Found me out, have you?
No, not you. I was chasing a cat. Her smile flashed, dangerous as an iceberg in a southern sea.
A tomcat chasing a queen cat. Is that how it is?
No, yes. How do you know my name?
Same way I know your father's drowned. What's to become of you all now?
Oh, that's not fair. I don't even know your name.
You tell me why you were chasing out a cat, and you never know. I might let something slip.
As she said this, she moved forward, holding the squirming kitten up so close that green eyes and brown eyes, fish breath and sweet breath filled my world.
Go on, tomcat. What brings you, breathless, racing all the way to 33 Duck Lane?
I want the cat so the captain will take me too, and give my mum some money up front. She can make a bit of teaching, French and the piano, but not straight away and not enough. Not for all of us. Not to keep me. I've got to go after my father. I've got to. I must.
Not to school?
No, the sea will have to be my school.
Well, then you better have this cat. He's growing fast.
He's lovely. And Black's lucky on a ship.
And better than that, look.
And she pressed a paw. Instead of 5, 6 of the biggest claws I've ever seen shot out. Oh, Rosie. So lucky. There's a word for it. Hang on. Polydactyl.
Polydactyl? Well, whatever. He's a cat the captain will want, and I think he will want the second cat as well.
I'll take him. But I can't pay you.
Oh yes, you can, Tom. You can pay me. You can pay me later by coming back safe and coming straight to my door. And you can pay me right now.
And with that, she kissed me. It wasn't the first kiss I ever had, and it certainly wasn't the last. But I think it was the best.
And so, Cat became a sailor.
Starts as a cabin boy.
Does anything and everything.
He soon learns.
Sailor and whaler.
Haul the lines.
Turn the canvas.
Climb the rigging.
Scan the seas.
There she blows.
Lower the boat.
Harpooner stand by.
Boston sleigh ride.
Sea turns red.
Blood on the water.
Blood on the decks.
Cleansing.
Fight the gulls and sharks for every scrap.
Light the fires.
Douse the board, she mustn't burn.
Hell ship on the dark water.
So, Cat has gone off on his journey into adult life, has lots of adventures, and goes through lots of rites of passage. And the two that I'd like to ask you about, Chris, now are Cat's tattoos and also Cat's claws. So tell us about the tattoos first.
In a scene that we don't have time to do now, Cat is taken by Dancing Williams, who's the chief harpooner on the Morgan, to a tattoo parlour in Nantucket, and where he has a number of tattoos that lots of whalers and sailors actually have because of the religious and ritual significance they have. He has on his left foot a pig, and on his right foot a rooster or a cockerel. He has those because neither the pig or the rooster can swim. So they believe that if they go into the water, the gods will bring them to land. So they would take roosters and pigs, both on board ship in really, and the sailors would have them tattooed. He would have on one shoulder an anchor to keep him anchored to the ship, crossed, so God looks after him as well. And on his other shoulder, a mermaid, because if the anchor doesn't keep him anchored to the ship and he's in the water, the mermaid may sweep him up in her arms. And also, the whalers and sailors believed that a woman's bare breasts calmed the storm and waves. And that's why loads of the figureheads were topless. And I mean, I think, yeah, right, boys, yeah, nice one. You know. And he might also well have had a little cross tattooed on his neck, so that he would always have the Lord's cross around his throat, and it couldn't be washed away. But what he would certainly have had, and you can still find all these, people still have these tattoos today, would on the knuckles of his right hand, he would have had hold, H-O-L-D, and on the knuckles of his left hand, he would have fast, to make him hold fast to the rigging, even in the rain and the ice. And that's the one thing. And the tattoos are really significant in lots of the play, because they stand as an emblem for a lot of this. Are you safe, or are you adrift? Are you drowned, or are you safe?
And what about the tattoo on his belly?
Oh yeah, because later he has I love Rosie Probert tattooed on his belly. But at this point, he hasn't got that far.
And what about Cat's claws? Tell us about how Cat got his claws.
Well, Cat gets his claws because in the same thing, he's turned in the sequence from a boy to a man, and he's given two knives, again by Dancing Williams. The first one is based on a knife that I was given by my brother-in-law, who's a GPO engineer, and it's a hook, it's a hook-bladed jackknife, which is easy to get out, quite large, and you can do loads of things because you've got to point down a blade. It's for stripping wires and chopping through wires and all of that. And so I made that his Swansea jackknife, which he called, amazingly enough, Jack. And I sort of zhuzhed it up a bit by making it with a scrimshaw handle curved with krakens and sea monsters, because lots and lots of the sailors and whalers did used to do that to their knives out of whalebone or whatever. So that's Jack, and Jack is always about. Jack's about all day. But Jill, he wins in a card game in Lisbon. And Jill, and I've seen a Jill as well in my travels around the world, you know, all about board, really. Yeah. And Jill is a flick knife that shoots straight out of a handle to about 7 or 8 inches. Deeply illegal, of course. And Jill is a thing of beauty. Silver blade and an ebony handle inlaid with a silver Madonna. So Jack's always about, but when Jill comes out, because Jill's hidden, it's time to say your prayers.
So, Cat is off having his adventures at sea, but his mind is always on Rosie back in Duck Lane. And eventually, he does come back to Swansea to repay that debt to Rosie. He comes back to pay her for the cat. But unfortunately, he doesn't find a pleasant situation. Chris, do you want to tell us what he finds?
He arrives at Duck Lane, And Rosie comes out and she's distraught and she tells him to go away, to get lost, to run now. She looks terrible. She's got a black eye, she's got a split lip. And he's going, what's the matter? What's happened? What's going on? Her mother comes out, she looks terrible too. And then the character of Tom Fred, the donkey man, who I've made Tom Fred Probert, the donkey man, comes out and tells Cat to get lost. What's happened is Tom Fred, who's good with engines and with other things, has befriended her mother, pretended to court her mother, and then started abusing her. Then threatened with Rosie with, unless she marries him, he will hurt her mother more. So against her will, she marries him, at which point he puts them both on the streets and makes them sell their bodies for money, together and separately, because he's not a nice man at all. And Cat hears this, and he decides to do something about it.
So, Cat entices Tom Fred the donkey man down to the docks with an illicit offer, and we're going to hear what happens down the docks with Tom Fred now. Acoustic, exterior, night, Swansea docks.
Where is she, boy? Where is she?
Shush! Someone will hear you. She's down here, end of the dock, the saw shed.
She better be, boy. She better be young.
Selena, 13 and sweeter than Jaggery.
Acoustic, door opens.
I can't see nothing, boy. Where is she?
You're blind drunk, man. You gotta go further in. She's at the back.
Acoustic, footsteps on wooden floor.
I can't find nothing, boy. Where is she?
Behind you.
The donkey man turns.
The cat smashes him.
In the middle of his face.
His nose cracks.
Like a flapping sail.
Blood spurts.
Damn you, boy. Damn you to hell.
Tom hits him again.
Sticks his finger in his eye.
Hits him again on his broken nose.
Donkey man's down again.
Listen, Probert, you and me are gonna have a talk.
Not down for long though.
I'm gonna fucking kill you, you bastard.
What's that in his
A
hand?
rusty old chain.
Now there'll be trouble.
Jack's out.
Jill's out.
Watch out.
Fucking bastard.
Things are getting messy.
The chain swings.
Jack's raked his chain arm.
Jill's stuck in his leg.
Cat's twisting.
The
it.
chain hits. Cat's down.
It looks bad.
Shadow flows across the dock.
Across the bay.
It solidifies into something fierce and feral.
A push, a shove, a thump, a thud.
A moment in perfect balance.
Tom Fred, the donkey man, slips.
Tom Fred the donkey man slides.
Off the side.
Off the dock.
Into the water.
Green slimy water.
Bubbles rise.
Slowly rise.
And then they stop.
Tom Cat opened his eyes.
All right, cocky boy.
Rosie?
I think you better walk me home, young man. It's not safe around here.
Tom Cat and Rosie Probert walk back to Duck Lane.
No, Rosie, I told you it's not safe. He's out now, but he'll be back, and if...
Ma'am, listen to me. He won't.
What do you mean?
He won't be back. Not tonight, not ever.
Oh, what have you done, Rosie?
Shush. We're safe now. Me and you, ma'am.
Safe? Really safe?
Safe.
And then Mrs. Rosie Probert took me by the hand and quietly led me upstairs. 1,000 stars spilled across the heavens as me and Rosie and me, loved the song of the sirens as we rode the seesaw sea.
So, happy ending? No, it's not. Clearly, because what has happened, someone is going to be blamed for Tom Fred's murder. So Cat, who clearly will be the one who people would suspect, he has to go off to sea to save both Rosie and himself. So off he goes on his adventures again. Now, at this time, he is still Cat the Sailor. He's not Captain Cat that we know. So how does he become Captain Cat? Well, Chris.
So the next time we meet Cat, he is, as if by magic, Captain Cat, master and owner of the SS Kidwelly. How on earth can this have happened? Well, it's happened by a story so remarkable that it may well be a sailor's tall tale. The Morgan has been left in Nantucket because Captain Eden has decided to retire and look after his grandchildren. So Cat and the rest of the crew are effectively stranded in America. So they end up in San Francisco Bay, and there a chance encounter changes everything for him.
Voyage 5.
It starts like so many tales of the sea, with a one-legged, one-handed ship's cook called Jonah Jarvis.
You there, Jonah?
Aye, aye, sir.
Acoustic. The back alleys of Frisco Bay. Enter Alfred Pomeroy Jones. Villain.
You dog, you mutinous son of a whore. Turn them in, would you? Turn them against me, I'll...
Acoustic. Sound of a stick beating down.
Help! Damn you! Help! Oh! Ow!
Stop that, matey. Stop right now. What sort of coward beats an unarmed cripple with a silver-headed cane?
I don't like being called a cripple. I just got a physical impairment, thank you very much.
Oh, sorry. What sort of coward beats a person with a physical impairment with a silver-headed cane?
Mind your own business, damn you.
I will, sir. And I'll decide what my business is, thank you kindly. Now stop before I have to make you stop.
Thank you, mister, thank you.
Blades, is it? Would you cut a gentleman down in cold blood?
No, but I will use these claws to defend someone who needs defending. No gentleman does what you do. By your accent, you and me share a country. You bring shame on Wales.
Born in Mumbles, schooled in Chester, lawyer and a captain. You, sir, are a damned meddler.
Sea lawyer and bully, more like.
Shut up or be killed.
This one of your crew, then?
Yes, master, and worse, captain.
Shut your mouth or I'll kill you.
Well, this isn't fair. I'm a...
Shut up, man, or I'll let him.
Sorry, sir, sorry, I'll be careful.
Hang on a minute. Are you Welsh too?
Not exactly. He's from Cardiff.
Cardiff is Welsh. It's the capital.
Will you shut up?
I, sir, am also Welsh.
Well, I can hear that. I'm not deaf.
And like you, I'm from Swansea.
I said Mumbles, not Swansea, you stinking jack.
Oh, up yourself, are you? Like mine too.
Up himself. He's more up himself than...
Shut up!
So you say this man is mutinous?
I do, sir.
And Sailor, you say he is a bully?
Too right he is.
And the rest of the hands agree?
They do.
They do not. This man is a liar.
So how do we settle this?
Simple. You stand aside, let me kill him, and then I'll buy you a drink.
I can't do that.
Why not? He is from Cardiff, you know.
I can't just let you murder a Welsh boy, even if he is from Cardiff.
Well then, you will have to kill me.
Go on, master. Kill him. Stick him. Make him bleed.
Shut up! Come on, kill me and be done.
Well, I can't do that either, can I?
Why not?
Well, it's not fair, is it? I've got 2 blades, and you've only got a walking stick.
True.
And you're a Welsh boy too, even if you are up yourself.
Well, I could put down my stick and you could lend me one of your blades, you know, to even things up a bit.
But don't give him a knife, master. He's evil. He'll cheat. He'll...
Shut up!
So if I lend you a blade, which one would you take?
Interesting question.
Isn't it?
It isn't interesting. It's stupid. You said you'd save me and I'm lending him a bloody knife.
I'm only trying to be fair. Firm, but fair.
It's not fair. It's stupid. You are stupid. A typical stupid Swansea. Oof.
The sound of someone hitting the ground.
Impressive. Out cold with one punch.
Sorry, but he was really getting on my nerves.
Well, at least you understand why I wanted to kill him.
I do, boy, I do. Now, come on, choose your knife.
Oh, do I have to? I'm rubbish with a blade.
Well then, damn it, that's not fair either. I'm really good. Look, tell you what, let's set this another way. More civilised, like.
What, a drink? A game of cards?
An arm wrestle?
A test of
A
knowledge?
game of chess?
You're on.
Prepare to be thrashed, you mumbles moron.
Never!
What happens next was one of the greatest contests of all time. From the tribal lands of Nantucket to the sun-kissed shores of Polynesia, the shamans chant and the bards tell of the trials of Thomas Cat and Alfred Pomeroy Jones.
For 40 days and 40 nights, the contest raged.
Jones won the cards,
Cat won the dice.
Jones won the billiards.
Cat won the skittles,
Jones won the dominoes.
Cat won the chess.
Joan won the specialist subject,
Cat won the general knowledge.
Jones won the tiddlywinks.
Cat won the marbles,
Jones won the high jump.
Cat won the long jump.
Jones won the ludo,
Cat won the snakes and ladders.
Jones won the embroidery.
Cat won the cookery,
Jones won the gardening.
Cat won the bird watching.
Jones won the piano recital,
Cat won the karaoke.
Jones won the loudest fart.
Cat won who could pee the highest,
Jones won the Viennese waltz.
Cat won the tango.
Jones won the arm wrestle,
Cat won the headbutt.
And throughout many contests, they drew time after time on the drinking.
Enough, man, look, enough. Go, call it a draw.
Never let it be said I was beaten by a jack. To a man from Mumbles, there is no such thing as a draw.
Sod this, I'm going home.
Wait. One last test. Winner takes all. Not just Jarvis's miserable life, but all my honour, my money, my ship, my everything.
Don't be stupid.
Nobody calls me stupid.
But what do you get if I lose? I haven't got anything.
You will publicly acknowledge my total superiority and that I am the better man.
You really are stupid. Your ship against...
See? I told you, I said, see, he's stupid, that man. He's really...
Shut up! One last test. The winner takes it all.
All right, name your challenge.
Eels, boy. Eels!
And so they made their way to Ebenezer Elgar's eel-eating emporium for the last, the ultimate, the final challenge. To cut a long, vomit-stained story short, 1 6-foot conga later, Cat emerged undisputed victor and master of the SS Kidwelly.
It was not that big.
What?
The eel.
6, 7, 8 foot it was.
Nowhere near.
Your eyes are really, really bad, aren't they?
About 6 inches, if you ask me.
So that is the comic tale that may or may
Absolutely
not be
true.
entirely true of how Tomcat became
I had an eagle longer than that in the Japanese Thunder Road last night.
6 inches. um, and one of the things that I really love about this work that you've created is that it's constantly switching from the comic to the dramatic to the serious to fun, but also suddenly we are going from light to darkness, and Cat seems to be in a really happy, light place at the moment, but a very dark part of the story is about to take over. So he's Captain Cat. He's got a ship. He goes back to Swansea for Rosie. Got money in his pocket.
Got a
Goes
good
back.
ring to give up so she can marry him.
But what happens?
He goes breathless, hammerhead heart, to Duck Lane. The door's kicked off its hinges, the windows are smashed. There's no one there. He hears from the voices of Swansea that TB is swept through the city, killing many. The bodies have been piled in the lime pit. He runs to his house to see if he can find out what's going on from his family. The house is locked up, boarded up, and there's a sign, typhus infected zone, on the board. At the same time as TB in that year, typhus swept Swansea and killed more people. The two together were devastating. Typhus continued to sweep Swansea and parts of South Wales until as late as the year I was born in 1962, when the last big outbreak still killed 70 people. So lots of things to squalor. So Cat panics. The voices of Swansea tell him that Rosie's mother is dead. Rosie is gone. Maybe dead, or maybe run off with a sailor. Cat doesn't know whether she's dead or alive, but what he does know is he's going to carry on looking for her until he has proof that she isn't alive.
So there's nothing left for Cat in Swansea, so he goes back to sea. Unfortunately, there is more darkness than light ahead of him, because this is when his sight begins to degenerate. And can you tell us a little bit about, Chris, about where in the script Cat first notices this and where the idea came from?
Cat first notices this because he is steering the Kidwelly at night, and he's steering by the stars, which he does all the time, and which lots of people do. I've done it myself on a yacht. And he is also drinking his grog. And suddenly he realises that when he tips his grog up, because he's left-handed, because I'm left-handed, he tips his grog up. Suddenly, little stars out on his right-hand side disappear. And he thinks, that's odd. And when he takes his hand down, they reappear. And when he does it again, they disappear again. And this gets him thinking, he can't work out. So he realises that most of the time everything looks perfectly normal. This happened to me. I was sat in my flat in Cardiff reading the stage, the very small print in the production news at the back. You can see that any of my mates were doing better than I was because I was unemployed and open for another job. I was drinking a cup of coffee, and suddenly the print disappeared, fractured, couldn't read it. Could read it again, fractured, couldn't read it. And that was the first time I had an inkling at the age of 27. Just started to get TV parts, just started to, kind of get to play gigs and do things and actually think I was getting somewhere, and suddenly I don't know what's going on. First of all, they say, oh, it's just dust, nothing, you go. Then they say, we don't know what you've got, but your retina's disintegrating. You've got 18 months lights out completely. At that point, I didn't take it well. Might have had the odd pint or two to, quell my thing. But then they discovered that it was something different, but I had to change my world. And I thought, well, what if that happens to Cat? If that happens to Cat, and the saying, he's still young, he's like I was. He's going to have to cope. He's still looking for Rosie. He's desperate. You'll have to change the way the world sees him either by ducking and diving or by learning to cope with it, and he'll have to change the way he works in order to still be able to get on in the world.
And can you tell us what the name of your condition is, Chris?
Well, originally it was called fundus flavimaculatus, which is a posh way of saying yellow blobs on the retina, because what happens is, in my central retinas, individual cells just decide, hey man, I'm not reflecting that light anymore. And so it starts as tiny specks, and it gradually gets worse and worse. So in my case, it got worse and worse for the first 3 or 4 years until I was 30, just enough time to not be able to read ordinary text. And then it stopped for the next 25 years, more or less. It got worse much more gradually. And then in the last 5 years, it's got a lot worse much quicker. But now the good news is that it's not going to get any worse, because it's about as bad as it can ever get, according to my consultant. And now they've linked it up, and it's now called late onset Stargardt disease. And we can find out more about it in a minute, really.
Yes, you will hear the name of that condition again in a moment, because we're now going to find out a bit more about how this experience affected Kat on...
And one of the side effects, which is really rather interesting.
Yes. Voyage 6. Acoustic, exterior, Caribbean island at night, rain.
It was dark and it was raining. Guadeloupe was meant to be a tropical paradise, a veritable jewel set in the Caribbean Sea. Why does it always seem to be dark and raining whenever your ship makes port, no matter where or when in the world you arrive? Guadeloupe. Why in Satan's braces were we docking in Guadeloupe?
You were looking for Rosie.
We were always looking for Rosie. We've been around the world almost 3 times looking for Rosie. And what's more, I'd found her. I found her eating an ice cream in Southampton. Again, saw her smoking in Gitane in Marseille. I once watched entranced as she celebrated a voodoo ritual in Haiti. Another time I stood close as she walked the shining sands of Piha Beach, New Zealand. But there was a problem, or rather 2 problems. 2 problems that I could do absolutely nothing about, staring straight back at me every time I looked in the mirror. My left problem and my right problem. My eyes. It got worse. Imperceptibly at first, but then in fits and starts, more and more of my central retinas had decided to stop reflecting light. At first the effects were minor. Sure, I had to wiggle my head to stop the odd star winking in and out of existence when I steered the ship by night. Certainly it took me longer to adjust in the dark, and yes, the light did seem to do strange and sometimes heartbreakingly beautiful things for no readily apparent reason. But I could cope with that. I mean, worse things happen at sea, right? But then 2 things happened that changed everything. First and worst, writing stopped being readable and writable. It would not stay still for me, cracking, fragmenting and crawling on the paper no matter what. I could still see it, still know it was there, just not get it to come together and make sense. It always looked like I should still be able to read it. It still does. But I can't. The second, the thing that made me think my sanity was slipping away as surely as squid slips through a crack, was the visions. Yes, visions. Seeing things that weren't strictly speaking there. It started one day when I saw a woman standing on the beach waving at me. I waved back. Then to my astonishment, right in front of my eyes, she turned and changed into an outcrop of rock. Soon after, Curly Bevan was coming towards me on the bridge. "What's up, Curly?" I said. There was no reply as Curly's face melted and shifted, twisting until it became the large capstan, inanimate metal and wood. Of course, now I know what it is. Now I know I have Stargardt disease, passed to me by my mother and my father, who have carried this genetic mutation in 2 unbroken lines that stretch back into the dimness of the past. Stargardt disease that only became obvious when 2 people who carry this gene come together. A detonator, a ticking time bomb. I only know what it is the double helix of DNA that makes my eyes see such fascinating and extraordinary things. But the visions, messengers of madness, intimations of the divine, that's what you really want to know about, isn't it? And those I did find out about. It was a doctor in New Orleans, a devotee of one Charles Bonnet of Geneva, who explained that I was not alone in seeing more as my eyes saw less.
The brain is a curious thing, and it lives to make sense of what it sees. As your vision deteriorates, your eyes see less and less. Starved of information, your brain fills in the gaps. Usually, this works well and everyone gets along together. But sometimes your brain makes a mistake, then realises it's got it wrong and hastily changes things back to normal. Add in a healthy dose of the subconscious and hey presto, real, honest-to-God visions. Often showing you what you want to see before giving it up to reveal the mundanity of everyday life.
So for the past 2 years, I'd seen Rosies everywhere. Rosies change into other women, startled and scared of this gruff captain who rushes towards them. Worse were the night visions, when ghostly images of Rosie's bloated and fish-eaten corpse became seals, seaweed and eddies in the slewing sea. But, for all this, I couldn't give up the hunt. For all I knew, she was dead. But until I had the incontrovertible proof, I had to cling to the glimmer of a ghost of a chance. Quite how this had led the Gidwelly to Guadeloupe escapes me. Coconuts, grain, bananas, I forget.
So, you'll have noticed that many of Kat's experiences of his visual condition echo Chris's experiences. So what happens on Guadeloupe then, Chris?
So it's dark and dismal in Guadeloupe, which sort of mirrors Cat's thing. You know, he's thinking he's never going to find her. He thinks the crew are quite excited though, because on Guadeloupe there is one of the most famous, secret and fantastic old brothels in the world, Madame Pompadour's Parisian parlour, and they are looking forward to having a lot of yo-ho-ho. And so they go in, and as they're playing a mixture of chamber music and fire breathing, he sees among the girls Rosie, and Rosie is staring at him with great intent. But he doesn't think it's really Rosie, does he? He's seen Rosies everywhere. So just as she's about to be led away upstairs by somebody else, she stares at him again. He gets closer and closer and closer, and she doesn't change. So they rush up into the bedroom, at which point they have a really feisty coming together, because Rosie goes, "Where the have you been, cocky boy?" and gives him a punch, and you know, and then says, "Get me out of here." So they have an escape from the brothel.
Hang on now. How does Rosie get from Duck Lane to a brothel in Guadeloupe?
Well, that's the other bit. Right. Okay. you'll have to read the whole script. There just wasn't time. See, what happens is, look, it's all sorted. What happens is, Rosie's mum dies, body in the lime pit. Rosie is left alone without any means of providing herself. So she does what she has to do, what Tom Fred the document was making her and her mother do before. She starts selling herself to the odd man just to buy enough money for food. And one man comes again and again and again, and he says he loves her. He says he wants to marry her. He says he wants to take her away from all of this. But Rosie doesn't believe him. She doesn't trust him. She thinks he's a bad man, so she tells him no. And then one night, he takes her out for a drink, and he drugs her drink, and when she wakes up, she's in the bowel of a ship, and it's out at sea. She's been abducted. He comes to her, he abuses her, he treats her well, he offers her money, he offers her fine things, he abuses her again. She fights, she claws, she scratches, she will not have him. After months at sea, he finally gives up, and having taken her to the most remote place he can, where she doesn't even know where she is, she can't speak the language, and she can never escape easily, he sells her to the brothel.
And then they escape. So what happens then?
Well then, they have some really good adventures. And one of the best adventures, which unfortunately you're going to be able to time to do all of, because you know, time is short. But
Tell us about it.
I know, they go to an island. Now this is a real island that exists, the island of Pingalap in Micronesia. And what's particular, it's a tiny little lagoon covered atoll. And what is very interesting about Pingalap is that about half of the islanders have a congenital eye condition, a nystagmus, and a condition which is the extreme form of colourblind, which means in the daytime they are extremely whited out by bright light and virtually blind. But at night it changes and they can see much, much better. I can relate to this because it happens to me. And not only that, the glare disappears and they can see the fish better. So they are the hunters, men and women both, because it's the ones with the eye condition who are the leaders, the hunters. So the society is reversed in Pingalap. And the disabled people are the leaders, the hunters, the providers, the ones everybody looks up to. And the other ones are the ladybug that get looked after all day. And Cat loves it there. Him and Rosie are equal, man and woman. Him and Rosie are equal disabled and non-disabled working together.
So this is one of the fantastical places that they go on their adventures on the sea. And they have 5 years of great joy, of great love.
Yeah.
And we might be thinking that Chris is going to give us a happy ending here. But are you, Chris?
Not a bit of it. No chance. Mainly because Dylan doesn't let me. By the time we meet Cat, Rosie has been dead for a long time. He has been missing her for most of his life. So something bad must have happened. And something bad does happen. They go back to Nantucket, and as he comes down the gangplank...
Well, hang on, can't we hear it? Because that'd be really good if we could hear the death of Rosie Probert.
We can't hear it because, and that's your fault, right? This is all your fault. Because what's happening this week, right? Rosie, as a character, this is why we concentrated on some of the Rosie bits, you know, and some of the funny bits. Because Rosie as a character has developed a huge amount and become much more, you know, when I first wrote this, I was thinking of it as a one-man show for me. But now it's about Rosie as much as it's about Cat and about all the others. They've all really become characters. So the point is, she's become this amazingly rounded fight. She saved Cat. By this time, she said, you've heard her save him once from Tom Fed the Donkey Man. She saves him again as they're escaping from the brothel. And what happens is, Cat meets someone, an old enemy, who turns out to be the man who abducted Rosie. Could it be the same man who believes that the SS Kidwelly is his? Well, maybe it could. And she tries to save him for one last time.
But you will have to follow this project to find out what actually happens to Rosie.
Because I haven't written it that way yet.
So Chris, you've built this story, this, as you said earlier, this Cat universe, inspired by the characters that Dylan Thomas created in Under Milk Wood. But of course, Dylan himself was inspired by many stories that he had heard from all over the place. You have chosen to imagine that Dylan learned about Captain Cat and Rosie from Captain Cat himself.
Yeah, Dylan definitely knew lots of sea captains and mariners. He lived for a while just outside Llansan South in Cardigan, and there's a churchyard there which is full of dead sea captains and mariners, lots with their stories written on the gravestones, and they echo lots of the things that happened in this story. So Captain Cat is for sure based on a conglomerate of real people. So I thought, what if Captain Cat himself was real and Dylan just ripped him off? So my idea is Captain Cat's having a pint in Brown's Hotel, and in comes the poet who's had more than a couple of pints.
So let's hear what happens when Captain Cat meets the poet. Acoustic, interior, Brown's Hotel.
He sways,
Listing like an overladen ship in an invisible Force 9,
concentrating fiercely on not spilling the large whiskey in his left hand,
while a pint of bitter in his right slops over.
adding to the eternal stickiness of the carpet.
In the saloon of Brown's Hotel.
Of course, he's just a shape to Cat.
Dim eyes in the late afternoon sunshine.
Barely see a silhouette.
Bugger me, I'm blind drunk, and you, salty sir, appear to be blind sober. I'd buy you one to help restore your balance, but I am unfortunately as skint as a Swansea temperance preacher.
I took him for just another blow-in, a drooling drunk whose grammar school voice masks the shit pool beneath. Turns out he's the greatest poet of his generation, so what the hell do I know? I bought him another whiskey.
The poet's eyelids droop.
His head drops.
A pig liver snort farts out of him.
You are a farer, a crosser of oceans, a son of the salt, sent to give me aid. I've been failing all night to capture in a poetic sense, you know, the blue of the Welsh Sea. It is not azure, it's not navy, it's not royal.
That's because it's not blue, you stupid sod. It's green with algae, green with fish, green with lava-bred slime. Green. Green as a bean. Green as snot. Green as my jealousy the first time I saw Rosie Probert kiss another man. But it is not ever, never, ever blue.
Always green.
Sometimes grey. Grey is a walrus's back, a whale's hump, a growling grim, a curtain of good solid Welsh rain.
Grey green, green grey. Polly Garter likes to play.
Or black. Black as my soul the day I left the Hispaniola for the last time. Black grey crow. Keep blue as the colour of your dead lover's thighs.
Green as a bean. I like that. Now, come with me now, back to Mrs. Thomas's pristine parlour, and we shall make red wine stains on her antimacassars.
The poet slumps.
Insensate to the floor,
There is a sucking, kissing noise.
and his threadbare suit,
Attaches itself
like a leech.
to the carpet.
And of course, here we are in Mrs. Thomas's very pristine front room with red wine stains on the
a red
antimacassars,
wine stain on the antimacassar, so I had to stick that line in.
purely for artistic reasons.
That's right. And because Richard made a red wine stain on Mrs. Thomas's pristine antimacassar.
It's a legacy.
The bill will be coming.
So, we're almost at the end of our time with you, but we really can't leave without visiting Captain Cat and Mrs. Rosie Probert one last time. So let us end with the epilogue. Acoustic, interior. Acoustic, Ebenezer's bell. Old Captain Cat speaks.
So now I sit in schooner house, eat my sea fry, and listen to the children and the gossips. Every day I ring the bell. It's a ritual, really. A ritual to summon the spirits of my memories into my dreams. A ritual to hold fast to the love of Rosie Probert as I once held fast to the icy rigging of an Arctic whaler. Just another blind man's ritual.
Acoustic, Ebenezer's bell fades. Acoustic, exterior, sound of the sea on the shore.
Tomcat is asleep.
Asleep and dreaming.
Dreaming of his dead dears. Did you ever really go to see Tomcat?
Seas green as a bean, seas barking like seals. Unfurl the main, south by southeast. Gentlemen, let's do this.
So where does he sail?
To Jonah Jarvis?
No, he lies drowned.
To Dancing Williams?
No, his spirit flies with the eagle.
To Curly Bevan?
No, the coral adorns her bones.
He sails to the South Seas, to an island.
Fishermen with eyes like his hunt and share visions on a lagoon in the glowing.
Glowing, under a perfect moon.
And he is happy.
He is happy.
Now all the heartbreak is gone.
And Rosie? Does he sail to Rosie?
Rosie Probert sits in the prow of his boat, and the light from her lantern guides Tomcat to his next adventure.
The end. Applause.
Leave him, Rosie, leave him. Oh, leave him, Rosie, leave him. For the voyage is long and the winds don't blow, and it's time for you to leave him. Oh, the rain was foul down in Swansea Bay. Love him, Rosie, love him. He forced his hand after forcing mine, and I found I couldn't love him. Love him, Rosie, love him. Oh, love him, Rosie, love him. For the voyage is long and the winds don't blow, and it's time for you to love him.
This cat house is a jail to me.
Fight him, Rosie, fight him.
I'll use my claws and make you bleed, and it's time for me to fight him.
Fight him, Rosie, fight him. Oh, fight him, Rosie, fight him. For the voyage is long and the winds don't blow, and it's time for you to fight him. We swore our love forevermore. Leave him, Rosie, leave him. But now we're through, so I'll stay on shore, and it's time for me to leave him. Leave him, Rosie, leave him. Oh, leave him, Rosie, leave him. For the voyage is long and the winds don't blow, and it's time for you to leave him. Hey!
A storm!
It was chaotic.
Kate was girly. The clothes whipped away to reveal her true identity.
Brilliantly cast.
I don't remember a lot the next morning, to be honest.
A shipwreck it was not.
Make sure you don't sit in the splash zone.
Plenty of people got wet. Soaking. Dripping.
Even my nana came along, and my nana never comes along, and my nana quite enjoyed it, actually.